The most dangerous wars are not fought between Republicans and Democrats. The most devastating wars are fought inside the House. Right now, the Democratic establishment is in full-blown panic mode, and it isn't because of a Republican attack. It is because the socialists within their own ranks just went on live national television and calmly declared war on the people funding their party. We are told that the Democratic Party is a big tent, a coalition of moderates, progressives, and working-class voters, but that tent is currently on fire, and the people holding the matches aren't even trying to hide it anymore. It all started on a quiet Sunday morning in Washington, D.C., in the Fox News Sunday studio, a slot usually reserved for senators doing careful damage control. A national co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America sat across from the host. When presented with her own organization's platform, she didn't blink. She didn't walk it back. She looked into the camera and said one word that detonated a grenade inside the Democratic National Committee. Today, we are looking at the dirty break. We are breaking down the socialist strategy to use the Democratic ballot line as a host, the summer of primaries that wiped out establishment incumbents, and the single sentence buried in their official platform that proves they don't want to reform the Democratic Party. They want to replace it. The Fox News Sunday bombshell. Let us set the scene. Sunday morning, July 26th. Host Shannon Bream is sitting across from Megan Romer, one of the two national co-chairs of the Democratic Socialists of America. This is the organization backing the most famous socialist office holders in the country, including New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. It is the fastest growing political force on the American left, and Bream did something most politicians spend 10 minutes trying to escape. She read the DSA's own platform back to her, plank by plank. Bream asked a direct question. Does your organization really want to abolish the United States Senate? Romer didn't hesitate. One word: true. And it didn't stop there. Bream read down the list. Replace the presidency and the Supreme Court as we now know them? Yep. Abolish ICE? Absolutely. Open borders and amnesty for everyone here illegally? Yep. Defund the Pentagon? Absolutely. Abolish prisons? Yep. Public ownership of most large corporations? Yeah. Part of that platform too. She agreed to every single item live on television, in a tone you would use to confirm a dinner reservation. And honestly, the calm is the part that stays with you. There was no spin. There was no panic. She was reading her movement's actual program, and she knew exactly what she was doing. Then came the warning shot. Bream asked point blank whether Democrats should be worried about what the DSA plans to do to their party. Romer's answer landed like a missile. The establishment Democrats should be worried about the voters because right now they have not been delivering. The clip went viral within hours, and the panic on the Democratic side was immediate and entirely on the record. The establishment panic and the Chicago War Council, Democratic strategists spent the next week whispering the word nightmare into reporters' phones. The Hill reported that Democrats feared the interview would leave a scar. One strategist told them plainly, "It's a nightmare. This is a gift to the Republicans." Veteran strategist Steve Shale groaned that because of this interview, Democrats now have to argue to voters that they aren't insane. Strategist Haima Moore called it an albatross. Even John Morgan, a longtime Democratic mega-donor, pushed back, reminding the left, "We built this democracy based on capitalism." Republicans just watched and grinned. Speaker Mike Johnson posted online, "The barbarians are inside the gate, and Democrats are welcoming them in." Now, you might assume that Megan Romer simply had a bad morning, that she misspoke. But she didn't. Every answer she gave was a straight read of a formal, written program her organization drafted that spring and published in July. And 5 days later in Chicago, the socialists gathered to turn those words into machinery. From July 31st to August 2nd, thousands of DSA members spent a long weekend at their National Socialist Summit. CNN's own headline called it their biggest moment yet. This wasn't a protest festival. There were sessions on how to actually govern, because this movement now holds real offices. There was midterm strategy for the biggest slate they had ever run, but it got much more serious. Their youth wing put a resolution on the convention floor to start building a brand new socialist party, completely separate from the Democrats. They even drafted formal invitations for the Working Families Party, the Greens, and the Communist Party USA to join them. A second resolution called for building the infrastructure to run a DSA-aligned candidate for president in 2028. Stop and think about how strange that looks. Why would a movement vote on leaving the Democratic Party in the exact same summer they keep winning inside the Democratic Party? Their own strategists have a name for the answer. It is called the dirty break. Use the Democratic ballot line, their donors, and their infrastructure to build socialist power, and then, once you are strong enough to survive alone, walk away. The Democratic Party isn't their home. It is the host. The June bloodletting, the fall of the incumbents. But maybe you think convention resolutions are just theater. Fine. Then look at what already happened to actual sitting Democratic congressmen 1 month before in New York. June 23rd, primary night, Dan Goldman, the Manhattan congressman who served as lead counsel in Donald Trump's first impeachment, one of the most connected Democrats in the city. He lost his primary to Brad Lander, the former city controller, who was endorsed by Zohran Mamdani, and it wasn't close. Lander beat him by more than 20 points. Same night, a few miles uptown, it happened again. Adriano Espaillat, a 5-term incumbent and the sitting chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, lost his seat to a DSA member backed by Mamdani, a caucus chairman, gone in one night. Across the country, 7 House Democratic incumbents have now lost their primaries this cycle. It is a bloodletting the party hasn't seen in a generation. And those 2 New York casualties shared one detail that should terrify the establishment. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, the man who becomes Speaker if Democrats win in November, had personally backed both of them. His endorsement, spent in his own city, saved neither one. So what does the establishment's general do when the war reaches his own doorstep? 2 Sundays after the Chicago summit, on August 16th, Jeffries sat down on NBC's Meet the Press and did something party leaders almost never do out loud. He disowned his own party's nominees' movement flatly. I don't support the DSA agenda, as has been articulated by the DSA itself. The man who needs socialist voters to hand him the speaker's gavel publicly rejected the socialists' agenda 11 weeks before the election. That is what panic looks like when it wears a suit. But the roughest words spoken about the socialists that morning didn't come from Hakeem Jeffries, and they didn't come from any Republican either. NBC played a tape, and the man on the tape has been running the Democratic establishment's street fights since before some of those Chicago delegates were even born. Rahm Emanuel, Bill Clinton's White House enforcer, Barack Obama's chief of staff, 2-term mayor of Chicago, the strategist who ran the committee that won Democrats the House in 2006. There is no more establishment Democrat alive, and here is his on-camera verdict on the DSA, the tape NBC played for Jeffries on live television. You're not Democrats, you're a separate party. Then, he threw down the gauntlet. If you're confident people want it, we'll see you in November. If they think Americans want defunded police and emptied prisons, I'll see you in November on the ballot. In other interviews, he kept twisting the knife, warning that this agenda doesn't play well outside the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and that these nominees could drag down the Democrats in every swing district on the map. Understand what that moment actually was. The Democratic establishment's toughest living operator went on television and conceded that the divorce is real, that the people winning his party's primaries are, in his words, a separate party. He read them out loud of the coalition with less than 3 months left before a midterm in which Democrats desperately need those exact same socialist voters to show up. And the wildest part? The socialists agreed with him. Their own convention just put the mechanics of leaving on the floor. Rahm says, "You're not Democrats." Their youth wing says, "Correct. And here is our exit plan." Both flanks of the Democratic coalition are now saying the identical thing about each other, on the record, in public. We are not on the same team. So, let's put the timeline together. June 23rd, 7 incumbents down, 2 of the leaders' own picks down. July 26th, the declaration of war on live TV. July 31st, the War Council in Chicago. August 16th, the party's own general disowning the winner's agenda, while a party legend calls them a separate party outright. Through all of it, the Socialists never once hid where this ends. They printed it. Their drafting committee spent April through June writing a national program, publishing it in July. They titled it, "Workers Deserve More." One sentence near the top of that document tells you exactly how they see the party they are taking over. Let's finally read it. Here is the sentence from the DSA's own official program, written by the exact same organization backing all 35 of their nominees. The Republicans are in on it. The Democratic Party is asleep at the wheel. Both parties are funded by the same criminal class of billionaires and war profiteers. Read that again. The official founding document of the movement now winning Democratic primaries describes the Democratic Party as an accomplice, asleep, complicit, bankrolled by what they call a criminal class. You do not reform a party you have written into the indictment. You replace it, seat by seat, primary by primary, exactly the way they are doing it right now. And the Democratic establishment funded this. They platformed it. They called it energy, right up until the exact moment their own committee chairmen started losing their seats to it. Now, Hakeem Jeffries is disowning the agenda on Sunday television. Strategists are calling their own coalition a nightmare on the record, and the movement they welcomed in has a written program declaring their money criminal. You now know more about what actually happened inside the Democratic Party this summer than most of the people paid to cover it. So, let's go back to that Fox News studio on July 26th, where this whole thing broke open. Shannon Bream wanted to know if the Socialists really meant every word of their platform. The entire war, the casualties in June, the machinery in Chicago, the panic in August. It was all already sitting inside Megan Romer's one-word answer, true. The Socialists have told the Democrats exactly who they are and exactly what they are planning. The only people who still refuse to believe them are the Democrats.